Hello friends! Welcome back to another episode of r/IDOWorkHereLady, where employees get mistaken as regular Joe Schmoes. In this episode, you'll hear about a GameStop employee who's ignored by a customer, a supervisor who's overlooked because she's a woman, and we'll finish off with another wholesome story that starts in a hardware store. I hope you stay for all the stories today, and subscribe for future videos. This story's titled, But I Do Work Here. This happened several years ago, when I worked at GameStop in college. It was near closing time on a Sunday, so it was just my manager and myself. Manager was working on paperwork in the back room, while I was putting away game cases when a customer walks in. I greet him and ask if there's anything I can help him find. He brushes me off and says, "No, you wouldn't know what I'm looking for." Okay. I respond, "Well, I'm here if you have any questions." He walks off to go look at the games, and I go back to work. I go back to grab more game cases to put away. He goes over to the PS3 wall, where I just was, and picks up Dragon Age 2, which is one of my favorite games. Out of excitement, I say, "That's a great choice." To which he replies with, "You don't know anything about this. You don't even work here." GameStop doesn't have uniforms, but I have the lanyard with the GameStop name badge, and I'm literally the only other person in the store. Before I can reply, manager comes out of the back room and starts counting down the registers. The customer goes up to him with Dragon Age 2 case and says, "Have you played this game before?" Manager points to me and says, "No, but that's one of her favorite games. She can tell you all about it." He bought the game and left without even looking at me. Sad face. Usually regular customers don't greet and ask if there's anything they can help you find when you walk into a store, nor do they stack game cases on shelves for shits and giggles when they don't work there. Either this guy's completely clueless, or he believes that women can't have anything to do with video games at all. This one's titled, I Do Work Here, Sir. About 5 years ago, I worked at the International Center of a university in the US. To give some background info, I'm an Asian female, 5'1" in height, and though I was in my early 30s at the time, I did still quite look young and was often mistaken for being in my early 20s or late teens. My main job responsibility at the time was recruitment, training, and management of about a dozen international student interns who worked at the front desk. Anyway, we'd been swamped at AM, so I hadn't had time to go out to eat lunch. I got a sandwich at our campus vending machine and sat down in the break room. The break room was always cold due to the AC blasting through the room, so I put on a comfy university jacket that I kept at my desk to wear during break. I kept the break room door open to keep an ear out for the front, and let my interns know that they could still pop in to ask any questions they wanted. A few minutes later, I heard a man's voice yell something along the lines of, No, you do not understand, you're stupid. The childish outcries exclaimed in a grown male voice made me immediately stand up and rush to the front desk area, without even remembering to take my jacket off. The man was literally wagging his finger at my intern and yelling while almost comically stomping his feet. I interjected his tantrum and introduced myself as the intern supervisor, gave my name and position, and told him that I could assist him with the issue. The man immediately looked me up and down and scoffed, "No?" He then turned right back to the intern and asked her to call the supervisor, as he needed to ask someone who actually works here, not just some young girl like the intern who sits at the front desk repeating nonsense. It wasn't my first rodeo with unnecessarily angry students, so I calmly gestured at my intern to step away and planted myself directly in front of him. That made him change his rant towards me, saying, "Listen, I know you Chinese want to help each other, but my issue is urgent, so I need to see your supervisor." Supervisor. He can sign my L20. Call. While making a dialing phone gesture here. Yes, both my intern and I were Asian, but nope, neither of us were Chinese. And I hate when people over-enunciate when speaking to me. My thoughts often immediately go to, English is my first language, moron, as it's evident by the fact that I just spoke it to you. Also, it pissed me off that he assumed the supervisor would be male. I did my best to remain calm, however, as it was my job to help people and confirm the issue. I said, "Oh, so you're here to get an L20 travel signature? If you go online and submit the form, you'll..." He interrupted me and said, "No, damn it, you don't understand." He then proceeded in a rapid rant, saying that I must get a real staff member who actually works here, instead of giving him the same instructions again, because he needed his paper signed now, as he won't be able to come back later for a signature because he's leaving on a road trip. And surely the school didn't want to make him, a student who pays such high tuition, do that. "Do you know how much money I give the school?" he asked. "Do little girls from China even understand how expensive this luxury trip was to book?" More background info. University students in the US on an L20 visa need an updated signature on their form every once in a while in order to travel abroad and get back. Now, I hated it when entitled students asked for expedited services just for convenience. Many students actually planned ahead and made the requests on time, and it wasn't fair to expedite the process for whoever asked the loudest. I was actually the one who had the power to approve very limited last-minute travel signature requests. But obviously this guy and his luxury vacation wasn't going to qualify for expedited services just for being a D-bag. I interrupted him by raising my hand to stop his rapid ongoing rant. I said, "Again, sir, I'm the supervisor in this area. Let me continue, and I hear your issue. My intern here has given you the instructions for the L20 signatures already. You're saying you want expedited service simply because you don't want to have to come back to the office another day to pick it up, and that you gave this school a lot of money. Unfortunately, that can't be arranged, so please go home and submit the online form like all of our F1 students and wait 2 to 3 business days for a response." He started to speak again, but I put my hand out again to stop him, maintained eye contact, and picked up the phone. I said, "Also, sir, if you don't leave immediately, I'll be calling the campus security to escort you out of the building for harassing me and my staff members. But before you go, just so you know, I'll be noting in your form that you're missing XX days from school. As you've kindly told us of your planned weeks of absence, please be ready to submit documentation of why this was an excused absence from your classes. Lastly, do not insult my staff again, or you will be banned from entering this office again." He stood there stunned for a few seconds, and then huffed and left. This may not have been the best solution to a yucky situation, but this was actually the first time I kicked a student out of the office, so I was a bit shaken up by it. The best part of the story, though, is what happened next. My boss at the time, who's a female in her 40s, walked in a few minutes after and asked me to come talk to her. I thought I was in trouble for some reason, but she actually asked me if everything was okay, because she met a rude international student outside. Apparently, the rude man had run into my boss outside and asked her if she happens to know who the boss of the girl in there is, and if she knew how he could talk to him. My boss said that she was the supervisor of the woman who works in there, and she asked if she could help. He was rude enough that my boss actually did call the campus police to escort him out of the campus property. She told me that next time, the moment that he raises his voice, I do not need to even engage him in conversation, but can just kick him out immediately, as he was forewarned that that's what will happen next time. This story had a bit of everything: entitlement, racism, misogyny, and minor revenge, all melted into one lovely story. I'm glad he didn't get what he wanted simply because of his entitlement and raising his voice. When will some people learn that getting loud isn't gonna get you much, unless you want embarrassment and a security escort in this case? This one's titled, "I'm just here for the matching outfits." I used to work at one of those home improvement warehouses. We all wore either a red and blue trim vest or apron with the company name huge across the back, with it smaller in the chest. I worked in the tools and hardware department. I'm a woman, which is a problem for a lot of men, but different story. I was in my 30s and I loved my job, so I was usually happy. I was asked anywhere between 3 and 10 times a week, "Do you work here?" Of course, it was customer service, so I generally would just smile and say, "Yes, what can I help you with today?" After about 2 years of this, I was bored of it, so I thought I'd try to change it up. I had just decided to try a new response when a really sweet lady approached and said, "Excuse me, do you work here?" I replied, "Nah, I just got a new vest, so I decided to come here and hang out with people who have the same fashion sense." I said it playfully with a smile. And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and starts to walk away. I replied, "No, please, I'm sorry. Yes, I do work here. How can I help you?" She just looked at me, then my vest, and I swear you could see the light turn on and she started giggling. She had recently gotten a divorce, and he did all the manly stuff around the house. She was almost afraid of using a screwdriver. She became a regular. I was told by one of the front-end supervisors that she would walk in, ask if I was there, and if not, she would try to find out when I was, then leave. It didn't matter if she wanted a faucet, lighting, or a box of screws. Shortly before I left the store for good, we went over to the lumber section and started looking at the patios that she could build with her new friend's assistance. I was so happy I made her giggle. And oh yes, I did keep using that reply, and it usually got a chuckle and giggle. Another wholesome story to end the episode. What a way to make a new friend. I hope you enjoyed this story and the two others in this episode. If you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. See you guys in the next one.